Have you ever wondered how one person can influence the fate of millions? Let's navigate through the murky waters of history and unravel the story of a man whose name we shall not yet reveal. A man who, throughout his life, left an indelible mark on humanity, but not in the way most aspire to. His story begins in a time of turmoil and uncertainty. Born into an era where resources were scarce and life was a daily struggle, the seeds of his ruthless nature were planted. His childhood was one of hardship and deprivation, a crucible that forged his iron will and unyielding determination. A determination that would later become a force of destruction. As he grew, so did his ambition. An ambition not for prosperity or peace, but for power and control. This was no ordinary man. He was cunning, calculated, and possessed a charisma that could sway the masses. He had a knack for exploiting the fears and insecurities of the people, turning them into weapons for his own gain. His rise to power was not marked by grand battles or heroic feats. Instead, it was a game of chess, played with precision and ruthless efficiency. He maneuvered his way through the labyrinth of politics, outsmarting his adversaries and eliminating any obstacles that stood in his path. His strategies were as ruthless as they were effective, winning him allies and silencing his enemies. But this was only the beginning. With power now within his grasp, he began to reveal his true colors. His rule was one of oppression and fear, where dissent was met with swift and brutal consequences. His cruel nature, once hidden beneath a veil of charisma and cunning, was now on full display. The stage was set for a reign of terror, the likes of which the world had never seen before. The rise of the cruel man was complete, but his story was far from over. It was now time for him to wield his power, and the world would soon come to know the full extent of his cruelty. Power in the hands of a cruel man can lead to unimaginable horrors. But what happens when that power goes unchecked? The reign of this cruel man was a time of terror and despair. The common folk, once free and hopeful, found themselves living under a cloud of fear, their lives dictated by the whims of a sadistic ruler. Under his rule, atrocities became commonplace. The streets, once bustling with life, echoed with the cries of the oppressed, their pleas falling on deaf ears. The cruel man reveled in the fear he induced, feeding off the suffering of his subjects. This was a reign marked not by justice or peace, but by terror and torment. His manipulation of power was truly chilling. He twisted laws to suit his needs, bending the very fabric of society to his will. No one was safe from his tyrannical rule, and those who dared to oppose him were swiftly silenced. He held the lives of his subjects in his hands, playing God with a terrifying disregard for human life. His reign was not a rule of law, but a rule of fear. His subjects lived in constant terror, their basic rights trampled underfoot. The cruel man's rule was a dark cloud that cast a long shadow over the land, a shadow that seemed to stretch on indefinitely. His disregard for human life was stark and shocking. He viewed his subjects not as people, but as pawns in his twisted game of power. To him, life was cheap and expendable, a currency to be traded for his own gain. His reign was a dark chapter in human history, a testament to the depths of cruelty one man can sink to. This was a time of terror, a time when power went unchecked and humanity was lost. It serves as a stark reminder of the horrific consequences of unchecked power and the terrifying reality of a cruel man's reign. In the face of absolute power, the human spirit finds a way to resist. But how do you fight against a man who wields fear as a weapon? This question echoed in the hearts of many, as they watched their world crumble under the weight of the cruel man's reign. In the darkest corners of society, whispers of resistance began to stir. Ordinary people, men and women alike, found extraordinary courage within themselves. They dared to stand against the man who ruled with an iron fist, the man who used fear as his most potent weapon. They dared to resist, to oppose, to challenge. In every city, in every village, brave souls stepped forward. They chose to fight, not with weapons, but with an even more powerful tool: hope. These were not soldiers or warriors. They were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. Yet they stood tall, unyielding in their determination to reclaim their world from the cruel man's clutches. Their resistance was not without consequence. Many paid the ultimate price for their bravery, but with each sacrifice, the people's resolve only grew stronger. They began to see small victories, moments of triumph that signaled a turning tide. A stolen document here, a secret meeting there, each act of defiance chipped away at the cruel man's power. The resistance was not a singular force, but a network of brave hearts spread across the land. They were united by a common goal: to end the cruel man's reign of terror. Every act of rebellion, no matter how small, played a pivotal role in this grand scheme. They were the sparks that ignited the flame of rebellion, a flame that would eventually engulf the cruel man's empire. Their stories are a testament to the indomitable human spirit, the power of hope, and the strength of unity. They remind us that even in the face of absolute power, the human spirit finds a way to resist. The seeds of rebellion were sown, growing into a force that threatened to topple his reign of terror. The stage was set for the fall of the cruel man. Every reign of terror has its end, but at what cost does freedom come? As the cruel man's reign entered its twilight, the final days were marked by intense battles, heart-wrenching sacrifices, and a spirit of defiance that echoed across the world. The resistance, once a disjointed group of rebels, had now become a formidable force. The cruelty they had witnessed and the pain they had endured fueled their determination. They fought bravely, not for themselves, but for the generations to come, so that they may live in a world free from tyranny. In the decisive battles, the resistance turned the tide. Every victory chipped away at the cruel man's power. Every loss strengthened their resolve. They understood that their fight was not just against a man, but against an ideology that fostered fear and oppression. And so they pressed on, knowing that their sacrifices were not in vain. As the battles raged on, the cruel man's power began to wane. His once invincible empire crumbled under the weight of its own cruelty. His reign, built on fear and intimidation, was now being dismantled by the very people he had oppressed. The end was near. And then, the moment of reckoning arrived. The cruel man was defeated. His reign of terror that had once seemed unending had finally come to an end. The world heaved a collective sigh of relief. The darkness was lifted, and in its place, hope emerged. The fall of the cruel man was as swift as it was dramatic. His empire, once thought invincible, was now a relic of the past. His reign was a stark reminder of the destructive power of cruelty and the resilience of those who stand against it. But as the world began to heal, one question remained. At what cost had their freedom come? The sacrifices made by the resistance were immeasurable, their losses incalculable, but their spirit remained unbroken. His fall was as dramatic as his rise, marking the end of a dark era. And while the world celebrated the end of his reign, they also mourned the cost of their freedom, vowing to never forget the lessons learned from this dark chapter in history. History is a teacher, if we choose to learn. So, what can we learn from the story of the cruel man? From the ashes of his reign, we can glean lessons of profound importance. It's a narrative that underlines the necessity of vigilance in the face of creeping despotism, the value of resistance against oppressive forces, and the indomitable strength of the human spirit when confronted with adversity. When we delve into the life and rule of the cruel man, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance. The rise of such a man was not an overnight event, but a gradual process, fueled by complacency and unchecked power. It underscores the need for constant scrutiny of those in power, to ensure that they do not overstep their bounds and infringe upon the rights of the people. The reign of the cruel man also tells a tale of resistance. It shows us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit is capable of rising up against tyranny. It may seem insurmountable at first, but the will to fight for freedom can overpower the most formidable of oppressors. The rebellion against the cruel man is a testament to this. In the aftermath of his reign, we witness the power of resilience and recovery. The attempts to heal and rebuild society post the cruel man's rule are a testament to the enduring human spirit. The capacity to heal, to rebuild, and to move forward, even after experiencing such profound trauma and suffering, is a testament to our collective strength and resilience. The story of the cruel man serves as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, and the heights it can reach when united against tyranny. It's a tale of caution, of resilience, and ultimately of hope. Let us remember these lessons for, as the saying goes, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.